card we made. So these were just plain information cards with a URL to our website. And then the second card had a place where you could tape or glue stick a little planchet of beads. These are the ones from Helio, but you can also use the cheaper ones and cut them up into strips of 10 or 12 and just tape them right onto. And they, of course, on the back have the video and the map. And then we started a blog and a Facebook page. And it is purely educational and informational. So we realized when the COVID hit that we couldn't do our groups, and that the only way, not the only way, but a way that we could encourage people is to have them use beads and seeds on themselves. So it seems to me at this time that they're useful and that they need the beads and seeds. So one of the things we did on the website, which is beadsandseeds.com, is put ideas of things you could use at home, like craft beads, mustard seed, moleskin, adhesive tape, masking tape, so that people could do beads and seeds at home. And then we made a video about home use of beads and seeds, which just got posted yesterday. So if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cute. That's pretty much it. I'm not in the business to sell beads. I am, however, offering anyone on this call who emails me at vjtyss@gmail.com and includes their address. I've gotten lots of requests, but no addresses. I will mail you 25 cards as a gift to help you through these chaotic times. That's actually our byline is Beads and Seeds, providing relief in chaotic times. So that's my deal. I'm open for questions, if that would work.
Could you
put them in the chat?
Your email address in the notes someplace?
Happy to do that. And please, if you want, like I said, I'm 25 free to anybody. It says privately.
You can do it to everybody.
If you want more, contact me. I could maybe have some printed and sent to you. But because I'm not going to groups, I'm not distributing all my cards, and I had a couple thousand, so I'm happy to gift them to anybody who wants. But I need your address. Any other questions?
From London, from the UK, are you okay with us copying from your website and creating one here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an informational and educational initiative. That's what we're calling it, an initiative.
So sharing it on is okay with you, is it? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So
you want, right? That's not a spirit. That's something
I've been sending around various different learning bits and bobs, which we've all got, I'm sure, and with the Mayapur, with the dressing tape and the beads on, the way we used to do it before, before the manufacturing started making it.
The self-care video also includes some sleep mix tea. So that's also something we should be encouraging our clients. And if it isn't, the sleep mix tea, there's certainly Sleepy Time, chamomile, hops, which are lovely adjuncts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. You ready for me?
Yeah, we're ready for you, Maisha.
Okay. So what's the question? I know that we were supposed to be talking about the impact of COVID in our communities. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And the kinds of things we're doing here in Tallahassee? Yes. Well, yeah, okay. So, I do a lot of work in our community. And so when we got the message in March, I never forget the date, the 13th, that everything has to shut down, it really put us in a very complex position because our work tends to be more community engagement and outside outreach types of efforts, hands-on programming and engagement. So this changed a lot, but what it did is put us in an overdrive because many of the people who I typically have contact with, I had to change my way of doing business. Many did not have access to the electronics that were required to do social media types of things. well, through their phones they could. But when it came to being online and communicating through Zoom or conferencecall.com, etc., they had difficulty with that. So I lost a lot of contact. But what it did was put me in another spot where people were calling, still calling for information, for education, for direction. The immediate shutdown in our community left a lot of people in a quandary in terms of, well, what do I do now? Who do I call? How do I get information? Lots of miscommunication, lots of people who didn't know where to go and how to respond to what they were hearing on the local news or the national TV calls in. So,
Maisha,
that,
sorry, this is Sarah. I'm just going to interrupt you real quick. Maisha, can you just share where you work? Like what's the context of your work? Who are your clients or your community that you're serving, so we kind of have an idea?
Sure, gotcha. Well, yeah, I'm in Tallahassee, which is the capital here, city in Tallahassee, Florida. And I work typically with families in the community who have been impacted in some way around health and well-being, mental health. And we do a lot with food security and health equity. I'm part of an organization, several organizations. One is the Greater Frenchtown Revitalization Council, which has been in existence for over 20 years now under the start of a Front Porch Initiative with Governor Bush. And since that time, revitalizing our community has been a primary area of concern and issue for us. And each year we see more and more need for more self-sufficiency type programming, more socioeconomic building wealth types of issues that keep coming towards us. The other program I work with is the Tallahassee Food Network, which we do a lot around food insecurity, helping to help people build their own food gardens, especially around youth, learning how to grow their own food, learning how to cultivate that food and to distribute it either free. We have a growing tree area where we give food out to the community, but we also find ways for them to connect and go to market and sell their products. So in our work, we have done a number of things that have helped us connect to our communities. And one has been the idea of engagement. We've held a lot of workshops and sessions around the food environment. What's that to a community? How does that look? We've done a lot of work around food deserts and who's impacted, because we live in the desert ourselves here in the Frenchtown community, which is one of the poorest zip codes in the state of Florida. I live in what we call the 3230304 area, which is designated 32304 as the poorest zip code in the state of Florida, which means we have all the other disparities and complications that one would expect with people who live in below the poverty line. So given all of what's going on now with COVID, we have seen our work increase 5 to 10 times over in terms of what the needs are. The distress, people not being able to work, not being able to provide for their families is overwhelming. The search for suitable and wholesome food, and luckily we are essential because we can still grow in terms of urban agriculture in our area. However, getting people out and getting all the proper gear that they need to they can still do the physical distancing that's required remains a problem. We have had donations for food, donations for gloves and masks, so that helps us to continue our work. What we do see though is, most of all, is the stress, the anxiety that people are experiencing. I think this is where this relates to our work with NADA. Some of the people in our community are older and they've lived through a lot of these types of trauma caused issues. This has caused people to have a lot of depression, things that they probably thought they could handle on their own now are twofold, and they can't, and because the decisions to make around food, medicine, paying the rent, And now a new surface of the energy burden. What's happening with people who can't afford their utilities? So the stimulus package covers a lot of things, but in Tallahassee, it doesn't cover the fact that you can get your utilities free for a couple of months. And we have high costs for utilities, and particularly among our elderly populations of folks. One of the things that has caused a lot of concern has been the fact that access, or even having an idea of who to talk to regarding understanding the COVAC has been an issue. I get calls, and one call said, I went to the emergency room. I couldn't get their attention because they said I had to get my doctor's approval and get a prescription or referral. Well, now in our community, many of our people don't have the access to a doctor. They don't have a primary care home, and they have used the emergency room as their primary provider for some years because they don't have insurance. So underserved people who have not typically been privy to health insurance has had issues. Our governor previously, Rick Scott, has made it very difficult for people in terms of not accepting the Medicaid expansion. And so again, that puts more of the 46,000 unemployed, uninsured people in our county at greater risk, and unfortunately we fall into that. So we're having super utilizers of the emergency room now having no place to go because they don't have any access to a doctor. We do utilize and refer them to the federal qualified centers, which provide them with some relief if they can get an appointment and a referral to go to get screening. So in our community, we've had several cases. We've not known much about it only because we have close and personal contacts with people who tell us that there are cases where people are being treated at home. They weren't allowed to go to the hospital. And now we are just in a quagmire in terms of just who's getting the type of support that's necessary in order to address this pandemic in our case. We already know that African Americans throughout our community, throughout the nation, have high levels of impact based on the comorbidity, the kinds of illnesses and diseases that we currently have, or chronic exposure to diseases. You know the story, high blood pressure, the issues that we experience with diabetes and the other types of chronic diseases. And so we are at best prone to this issue already, but there's no real emergency type task forces in place, even though we live in a community that has two universities, very well known. Mental health is supposed to be one of our top areas, and public health as well. But because we're not seen, I guess, as primary, in our community, a lot of people are really experiencing what does it mean to be a second-class citizen in Tallahassee. And this is disturbing to me because I've watched it over the years, and it's bringing it home, too personal, too close. And with the calls that I get from people, it's just a reminder of the already conditions we've lived under for years, and now it's amplified in a way that we have very little control. So I'm going to stop here. So if you have questions, let me know. But what I do see happening is a boost, I guess, in babies coming forward who may not have parents who can support them in a way that they traditionally used to, because everyone's impacted. And those who are working class, considered the working poor, now are falling into the gap, and they're going to be virtually poor. And they don't have a security net under them as well. And so many of us are going to be in this boat together. But the ones of us who are already at the bottom, which was very clear through the allocation of resources in communities, that we'll still be at the bottom no matter what. It's not going to change our position unless we take some very strong actions around how do we deal with diversity, how do we deal with the issues that impact the health equity aspects and the disparities in our community. And how do we deal with the cultural competencies that still are issues of concern that folks just don't get us. We still carry this space. And as long as we carry that with us, we'll have more problems. And unfortunately, a lot of folk in our country still don't recognize that and have not put emphasis on what that means to carry that burden every day. You know, so depression, issues of structural racism still exist, and they're not going away. So we'll see more grief, we'll see more stress, and we'll see more trauma. And so here we go with our C's and B's and whatever we can to help people get to some type of relief that they won't be able to afford otherwise. They won't be able to afford the medications and hospitals and the cost of getting this best in care. You know, folks need help and they need it soon.
But I'm so glad to be here with you. And thank you so much, Maisha. You know, having roots in Tallahassee, Florida myself, I'm just visualizing, you know, people, whether I know them or not, and just your heartfelt presentation of the condition that you're holding along with the community. So I really appreciate that. Oh, yeah. How about that, everybody? Let's just all take a breath together. You don't have to get in any yoga position, you don't have to, you can be like, whatever you're at, right? However you're comfortable, just take a couple of breaths together. You know, our last time getting together, I invited you all just a brief introduction into tapping. And if you hadn't had the chance, I do invite you to check out Gary Craig. He has very numerous tapping exercises on YouTube. And there are other practitioners of tapping as well that can be really useful examples. And they have wonderful 1 minute, 3 minute, 12-minute kind of recipes. So I do encourage people to do that. One aspect that connects, again, tapping connects so much to what we utilize as ADSers. And you, full body acupuncturists, licensed acupuncturists know that this whole triple warmer area is really stimulated, and that's really important. So I wanted to just take a minute or two for us to do this. And I want to invite you, I think everybody has an appreciation for butterflies, right? Yeah, I do. I love butterflies. And anybody who has experience with EMDR may also know that this is familiar. So I want to invite us to invoke our butterfly. So that simply means hands, cross your chest, right around that upper part. Wonderful, you all are doing wonderful. Just allow yourself to just gather some breath. Get your rhythm. And I want you to think about how so alone this has put us in. How it's disconnected us from the people that we have treated and offered help. All the people that we are missing doing that in-person connection of treatment. All the connections with ourselves and others just being put on hold. So as you're thinking about that, I want you to just start tapping on your shoulder alternately. Alternately, there you go. And you're thinking about all of these missed opportunities to offer support in the Nada spirit that we all in honor in our work. And just continue, just thinking, breathing. Not so much in sorrow, but just in the loss of those connections. And as you're doing that, continue the tapping. think about the last wonderful treatment that you gave somebody. Think about the last time you saw a smile from a client you were working with. Think about a past training and a student said, wow, I really get this now. Think about the impact that you have had on other people. Stop. Just breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And let's just resume for a couple of seconds the tapping. And if you can allow yourself, we're just going to give some loving kindness out to the universe. And it will go like this. May all sentient beings be safe. May all sentient beings be happy. May all sentient beings be healthy. Stop. Boy, I love working with you all. Thank you all so very much. And just allow yourself to come back in slowly with ease. We do a lot of work together. And you do a lot of work yourself. And I really appreciate being. And it's so funny because I can feel the energy. Maybe it's the 5G, but I still feel it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramel. So much. Thank you. Thank you. So we are still kind of, that was wonderful. I wanted to talk to Sarah for a second, if I could, Sarah.
Sure. Sorry, I just got a little emotional right there.
How you feel?
I feel okay. That just like opened it
I did
right
too.
up.
I got a little bit of tears going.
And really what Maisha
Yeah,
shared just went right into
too.
my heart. And then this kind of like warmed up that space to really feel into that. And so just sitting with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll let
But
you
that-
come back.
I'm
Give you
okay.
another
I can, no,
couple seconds.
I'm okay.
Good?
Yeah.
You're good? You're good? All right. So I kind of wanted to bring the conversation back around to some resources that we have gathered since our last month's membership cafe. And we had talked about creating some modules to help people. And can you share us a little bit with the NADA office, where people can find those resources from the NADA office?
Yes. My name is Sarah, and I'm a member of the NADA office team. And a couple of weeks ago, we created some space on our website for housing resources that span a variety of different directions, from suggestions on safety and to resources that can be available for members outside of the NADA entirely, as well as within the NADA community, created by members in a sort of mutual aid effort. So there's a couple of different spots on our website where you can find this information. If you go to our homepage and you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a news section, and it, like, the highlights from the news section will show up here, and that's where all the he who should not be named, that starts with the letter C, articles are located. Sorry, that was a Harry Potter reference in case you might not have read that book. homepage bottom is one place. In the there's an actual section called resources on our website, and we just created a new icon with the word COVID-19. And so there's resources. We do a lot of cross-referencing on our website, so we want to make sure that people will see them, not no matter where they go exactly, but in a lot of different places. So there might be some duplication of what you saw on the news page, which is in the resources section. There's a whole nother part that's not on our website, but we have sent out invitations for people to join something called Slack, which is basically a communication platform, and it's free. And we have a number of different channels open in Slack where people can have conversations just very, directly with each other. Whoever's on there can talk to other people who are on there. If you want support on that, Mary Wally, our program development coordinator, is our resident Slack master, guru, teacher, guide. And so she can provide you either one-on-one support, or she can answer brief questions from you if you send her an email. If you'd like to engage with that, but it feels intimidating in some way. And I will say we all use Slack in the office now as kind of our main way of communicating with each other, but it was definitely intimidating at first, and we had a learning curve. So it's really normal to have one, and but I really encourage you to move through it and check it out if you're interested in wanting to engage with other members of the NADA community. And ask questions. We're also checking it out, and so we can also pipe in, but we really are trying to foster more kind of horizontal connection that isn't constantly pivoting through the NADA office, or making us a required kind of gatekeeper to connect you to other people. So this is a way that people can just connect directly to each other. And in terms of more resources coming, let me think. There's right now on the resources page on our website, there's a number of check-in groups that members of the NADA community have started, where you can just come on, give yourself a treatment with either beads, seeds, or needles, sit quietly, and then have a check-in time, and you can look on that part of the website to see there's some in Spanish, there's some in English, there's in a variety of different time zones, so you can even share it to others who are interested in participating. There's no requirement that you have to be a NADA member to join those groups, so at least that's not been, there a lot of people are on those, so you're welcome to participate and share with others. I think that's all I can think of at the moment. Does that work?
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
And yeah, thank you. Does anybody we are at about 20 minutes till. We have about 10 minutes left to have any discussion about response to COVID and community care. Does anyone have
I do have a question regarding resources, and sorry if you've gone over this, but if you could just review how often these cafes will be with, the cafe Zoom meetings. Is there a schedule of those, or if you could just review that? They're very helpful, and I very much appreciate them.
I appreciate your question. The membership cafes are once a month. They're every third Wednesday of the month. And then we also have membership check-in, which is, Sarah, is that the every
we sort of, we've had one. Yeah, we had one, and we've had one office or team debrief to talk about when we might have the other. And so what we're discussing now is just having the membership cafes and membership check-ins alternating. so that there will always be a Wednesday off, but there would be a membership check-in on the first Wednesday of the month, and then the cafe on the third. And the two are different because the membership check-in is still in like formatting stage, kind of. Last time we had breakout groups and we had some questions that people were invited to talk about. We don't really know if it's going to continue to have the same format or not, but the membership cafe, Tanea has really shaped into a space where specific topics are looked into and kind of delved into with invited guests. And so it just has a different format. So the membership check-in is like sort of in the works, in progress. It may look a little different each time as we kind of try out different formats and spaces, and we invite you to be on both and get the benefit of that. And I'm really glad that you shared that this is helpful.
Thank you, Sarah.
It's great to get that feedback.
Yeah. It is. And also, just to let you know, if there's a topic that you would like to learn more about, or if you would like to hear from a particular person in the NADA community, that I can reach out to and ask them if they would like to be a guest speaker, please email me at membership@acudetox.com, and we'll look into some topics. I do have some YouTube links of previous cafes that we've done, like launching and running a program, which I've received feedback that's been really helpful for people. And so I would like to have another one of those in the future again. But right now, I believe that community response is really important.
Hello, my name is Elaine Scribner. I'm new to the community here, and these membership, I have just a couple questions, and these membership cafes, is this kind of a new forum based on COVID, or is this something you've been doing for a bit?
We started these last year.
Okay.
And I can't remember, sometime. So we've done, I have them once a month, so I think we've done about 8, 9, 10, I don't know, maybe 10 of them.
I know from what I've read in your newsletters that you guys do a lot of going out and doing volunteer for trauma. You've had a lot of experience in going to various places in the world with this. I woke up this morning thinking the healthcare, I'm a nurse myself and I teach nursing, so I know what my students are going through right now because I teach online nurse practitioners, and the mental health, emotional fallout from this is going to be horrific. I mean, right now they're just coasting on empty and getting through their days in absolute terror. What would, I'm thinking of volunteering my services. Obviously I won't be able to until somehow things let up. But what would a model look like if I were to take and go and volunteer in the Baltimore area, which is my closest hub of impact? How would you set something up like that? Would it be through like the EAP? Would that be the best way to do it? Or Miesha's, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm new to my Maryland community too. I moved halfway across the country. So how would I get connected to take and offer services to organizations such as that? A lot of questions, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Elaine. I appreciate your question. Does anybody from the NADA community have?
I do. This is Sue.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Sue, and I wanted to respond to a question about COVID and self-care, and I posted a video about self-administration of the Shenmen. I'd like to launch it to the NADA page. If anybody would like to use it, I would like to take it to different treatment centers or to the community where people can self-administer. It's basic 3 steps that I did. I did a meditation piece, a safety practice hand washing piece as part of just the NADA protocol. And then I did the Shenmen administration using mustard seed on a tape, and I think it was it really worked very well to do that, and also taught the reverse Shenmen piece. So if you would like a copy of that, I'd be happy to lend that resource.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Sue. I'm sorry, is that awesome?
No, this is Romel.
Romel, hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I just wanted to comment on Elaine's wanting to just how she could tap into resources. I believe Baltimore has, just like many cities and municipalities, a medical reserve corps. You might want to check into Baltimore's medical reserve corps. There are a lot of options opening up, and like you said, it's our mental health is going to be bursting exponentially as the months go on and as we reconnect. So that's a wonderful thing that you brought up.
Also, the mental health of the mental health providers. My best friend does ES, and she says they're the hardest days she's had, and she even went through. We can start is with being able to treat our colleagues, because sometimes when this lightens up, we might not be able to treat our patients face to face, but we might be able to treat our colleagues.
Mm.
I did have a question.
Yes, hi.
Hi. Sorry, we have youngest member with us here because he is a newborn, so sorry about that. So I'm currently in the Virgin Islands, but I was trained in Maryland and I was practicing there. I am a psychotherapist, social worker. Due to the stress level that we are seeing and mental health having a huge impact, once we can treat clients, do you think that states that were not allowing social workers to practice NADA points, that they may loosen up, or do we have any more information on those?
That's a really good question. I think in order to expand access to NADA in states through kind of like the actual regulation, it's still, unless it is through like an emergency declaration by a governor, and there are other ways for laws to change that don't have to go through the legislative process. But typically for regulations to shift, they do. I think we're gonna be waiting for legislatures to go back into action and activity and to kind of go through that route. But perhaps this is an opportunity if people take it upon themselves to reach out to their local government, or have somehow access to the governor, or I'm not as familiar with sort of the other way to get laws changed, but emergency situations certainly can create openings. So it's possible that there could be ways.
There, it looks like Elizabeth wants to add something.
Okay, Elizabeth Ropp, please share.
Yeah, I would just to echo what you were saying, Sarah. Now is a really good time to reach out to not your U.S. rep or your U.S. senator, but your state representatives and your state senators, because they're the ones who change the laws. And if you have other allies who want to practice and on the local level, and other medical professionals, and even acupuncturists, you want to start talking to them now and build your base of support, so that way you can get a bill number and you can have people who are willing to submit testimony and come and testify.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
And if you run into acupuncturists who may not want to pass a law, you push it anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Sarah.
Hi. Oh, it's Wendy. I agree. Hi, Elizabeth. That was great. And it's true, when things are chaotic, it's often when things can change. And for Maryland, I would say try to reach out maybe to the NADA trainers there, see what they're thinking, see what allies you could have there within our community. So you'll, just gain force and power that way. And, there's a lot of people who work sort of underground in these cases and don't go by the law. But in terms of by the law, you have to, we all have, a lot of us have licenses we have to protect. So we have to be careful. But that's usually in most states, you could do the ear seeds. I think there's one state where that's problematic, but we find that they're so highly effective as well.
Thank you,
Thank
Wendy.
you so much for everybody's input. Now, Ramel, was that called the Medical Reserve Corps? Was that what it was? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I wrote it down.
Yeah, and there are a lot of cities that have them.
Right. The Medical Reserve
But
Corps.
I think, say it again?
Oh, no, just each city and state is like a very separate organization, even though it's a national name. So like in New York City, we basically can't do anything. Like we got a category for acupuncturists there, but it's pretty meaningless other than it might build awareness, because what they do in New York City is a whole different scope than what they might do in Texas or California.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, Elaine, this is Maisha speaking. Thank you for that question. So, the NADA Advocacy Committee is trying to boost our membership. So please feel free to join in and become an active member, because there is need for us to continue this great work. We cannot do it, especially now since many of us are sort of tied to our houses. But we are moving forward in so many ways. So those of you who need to boost your membership, please go ahead and do it and tell everybody else to get those membership dues in as soon as possible. That would really keep NADA up and running the way we need to be. Thank you, Sarah and Mary, for everything you guys are doing.
And I'd also like to say, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to expand. And I think many of us already do that, but expand just beyond our bubble. So, making yourself known to your community's MRC or your community's mental health or any other volunteer organizations, because I think that we kind of don't lift up enough. For instance, Acupuncturists Without Borders has a wonderful protocol for dealing with crisis kinds of situations. Albeit we can't touch people, there still is a wonderful way that we can look at doing that. The People's Community Acupuncture. Everybody has these kinds of things going on, and we are going to need referrals for people that need therapy, talk therapy, people that need body movement kinds of stuff. Although much of our community has the body, mind, techniques really at hand. But I just want to encourage people, this is a wonderful time, even though it's virtual and it's by phone, to build some community connections within your own community.
Mm-hmm. I like that, Romel, particularly now we talk about emergency planning for disasters. And this, lots of people are being given stimulus money, like the small business associations and some of the nonprofits. So NADA should be in a good position to push our point at this point, because it is an intervention protocol that could really move to assist people in dealing with these upcoming mental health well-being types of challenges we're going to be facing. And the way you're talking about Genman and Triple Warmer and all those things, it would get us to a point of recognition. If we all had a little membership card with NADA on it to say whatever, so I can pull it out of my pocket, and here I am officially. So I think more and more the acupuncture piece, particularly around the borders and the AcuDetox and the NADA membership combined with these new ideas, because we have to have new ways of moving forward. Until we get that cemented, we, I think, are going to be the driving force more than we realize. So we need to be in better shape to make sure that we can respond to them in a timely way. So I thank you for this covert discussion and how we can move forward in a way that can meet the needs of the people and not just do some of the ways I've been watching things happen. Mm-hmm. We need to do a little different. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Maisha.
Nia? Yes, could I just give
Danielle?
a
Yes.
quick
Hi.
update on our San Carlos Apache?
Sure. That'd be great.
There are 2 trainees there. One is a doctor, and the person who's training to be an RT is also a PhD. And I sent the 3 sets of training ears yesterday, the practice ears, and they have the manuals, thanks to Claudia. And we're going to start today with our first Zoom lesson, long distance training. So we're just taking it one step at a time and seeing what happens. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. It's great to hear all, how everyone is adapting and sharing how you are walking through that. I really appreciate that. And we have about 4 minutes left. I believe in chat I saw that there was a question about the age for, was it for acupressure or
Seeds and beads, yeah.
beads?
Who is it safe to use for folks with seizures, who suffer from seizures, I believe, and then how young, how old, who can use beads and seeds?
Thank you. Would anyone like to take on that?
I wanted to just make a brief comment about, I feel like my internet connection is really slow, so I just missed a little bit of the last comment of what Mary shared. But I wanted to let people know that we are really close to completing a handout that can be used and sort of adapted to communities on how people can self-apply the beads and seeds. I'm not sure if that was what needed to be mentioned, but I wanted to say that.
The question was about the age.
Oh, age.
I just shared it again. Age.
There is no age limitation for people using beads and seeds. I have not heard of a contraindication for that with beads and seeds and seizure disorder, or pregnancy. So our experience has shown that these are very safe. And if people find them uncomfortable or irritating, that they should just take them off. That's from our experience.
I might add to that, Sarah, that use reverse Shenmen with the seizure disorder just in case. There's no chance that the bead rolls in.
That's great. Thank you. All right, we have 2 minutes left, and I wanted to thank everybody for coming on today and for participating in discussion and being here for each other.
I have one more question.
Yes. Yes.
I did not self-administer any needles while I was pregnant. But I'm thinking back in case someone does need it and is pregnant. I do remember there was a point we were not using needles for while someone was pregnant. I don't recall right now which point that was. Does anyone else?
Someone just typed in liver. We also heard from our friend, NADA trainer and kind of leader in NADA Germany, Ralph Robin, who was a gynecologist for 30 years, that no NADA points are forbidden for pregnant women. He's been working with them for 30 years using the full NADA protocol, so there isn't any point that's forbidden. Okay. Many people don't need all of the NADA points all the time. So that's, I would say that's not necessarily just for pregnant women, but that's a good question.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Also, I believe we have his research too, if anybody needs to or wants to have that or need it for their practice.
And that comment was for both the needles and the seeds and beads, because the original, is that correct? Because the original question was talking seeds and beads. Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. All right. And
hi, Nancy. Just want to say hello to Nancy. I haven't heard from you in years. It's good to see you.
all right. Any last comments? We're right at the... Hi, Dr. Valina Spencer. I just wanted to say hi. Okay, so I will get this edited this afternoon, or maybe sometime after I get the RT webinar finished. Then I will edit this and get a YouTube link out to everybody. Does anyone have any last final comments or wishes or things that you would just like to put out there? Okay. Yes, Elizabeth.
I put a link in the chat bar of a lot of different acupressure videos compiled by members of the People's Organization of Community Acupuncture. And so I want to start sharing any kind of meetings that anyone can attend, whether they're not a member or not with them. So I'll pull them over.
Awesome. Thank you. I think, and normally we share the notes too, with the, so people have a reference to go back and look at. Gil, did you have something to say, Gil Croft?
Yeah, can I just say something from NADA GB? We train practitioners to avoid sympathetic point in known pregnancy. Yeah, I know Ray disputes that, but if you're worried about someone's pregnancy, if they've had repeated miscarriages and so on, you avoid the sympathetic point.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
And is there a point that you do recommend?
Oh yeah, Shenmen and kidney.
Shenmen and kidney, okay.
Really the most supportive within pregnancy and fertility work. Yeah.
How is
the other one, but the sympathetic, if you're not sure, that's the one to avoid because it's so very close to the uterus. And it's super useful in fertility work, but in pregnancy, we in Great Britain have always advised our practitioners to avoid it because it's so close to the uterus. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a
yay baby sounds.
I know. I do have a quick question about, if you don't mind. Am I saying your name correct, Gil? Is it Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How are things in Great Britain as far as COVID, and how are you supporting?
Well, everything's gone down the toilet as it has around the world. NADA, we stopped practicing about a month ago. All trainings have been cancelled, of course. And our advice to all our practitioners is, obviously the great work with the beads and the seeds to teach each other how to administer, and Qigong to support immunity. That's what we've been supporting our practitioners with. I'm trying to stay busy with things, working at the food bank, and there's lots to be done. As you know, there's lots to be done. I've been making masks like crazy, following the US women who posted up the amazing tutorial. So thank you, American women, for doing that, because you got us started. Yeah, so we've got a really good sort of industry going on now. Yeah, when we go to hospital, they tend to, if they're walking in, they tend to grab 4 or 5 of the masks, and we can't, we're offering those now in hospitals for people coming in and out, rather than taking the precious PPE. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. All right. So I'm sorry.
Thank you for this forum. It's really encouraging to me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining, and it's great to hear from you, and thank you for sharing. All right. So I'm going to close this out, but I would like to thank everyone for coming, and if we can take a moment actually and just kind of go back to where Romel had us as we're going out, and with that feeling, with the butterfly. All right. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you so
care
much.
and stay safe.